Shalom. First and foremost, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham, Yahweh Shai, Bahasham, Recha Kodash. Double honors to the elders and the apostles of Great Millstone, and peace and blessings to the elect. And today we're going to go into the book of Numbers, the 33rd chapter. As you can see in the subheading, review of the journey from Egypt to Jordan. So this pretty much covers all the different stops, right, in our journey from Egypt to Jordan, the places we pitched, the places we stopped, the places we set up camp, and so on and so forth. And let's see if we can find, some close depiction of these routes here. And these are, once again, these are really approximations, but I suppose they'll suffice. So as we, go through the chapter, just keep in mind, right, on a high level or roughly, this was the route, okay, where they came from, as it says, Ramses, Succoth, and then so on and so forth, crossing the Red Sea, going on the edge of the Sinai Peninsula, okay, and then eventually to Mount Sinai, and then eventually back up, and then eventually into the wilderness of Sin and Kadesh Barnea, and then we dwelt there for, Lord had us roaming around for a minute, and then, a good like 38 years, and then eventually through the, the land borders of Edom, borders of Moab, until where we were at the point of Numbers 33. So this is Numbers 33, verse 1. These are the journeys of the children of Israel, which went forth out of the land of Egypt with their armies under the hand of Moses and Aaron. And Moses wrote their goings out according to their journeys by the commandment of the Lord. So he basically kept a record of all the places where the path where they journeyed through on their way. And these are their journeys according to their goings out. And they departed from Ramses in the first month, on the 15th day of the first month. On the morrow after the Passover, the children of Israel went out with an high hand in the sight of all the Egyptians. And that high hand meaning like symbolizing victory, right? They went out victorious from slaves to, being freed, as the Lord had basically taken over or taken down the Egyptians and delivered Israel. For the Egyptians buried all their firstborn, which the Lord had smitten among them. Upon their gods also the Lord executed judgments. So their idols, as the Lord, with all the plagues that the Lord brought upon them, not only was it a mockery of their idols, but it showed just how worthless their idols were, as they weren't able to deliver them from the judgments of the Lord that he brought upon them. And the children of Israel removed from Ramses and pitched in Succoth. And they journeyed from Succoth and pitched in Etham, which is in the edge of the wilderness. And they removed from Etham and turned again onto Pahiharoth, which is before Baal Zephon. And they pitched before Migdal. And they departed from before Pahiharoth and passed through the midst of the sea into the wilderness, that is the Red Sea or the Gulf of Suez, and went 3 days' journey in the wilderness of Etham and pitched in Marah. And they removed from Marah and came on to Elim. And in Elim were 12 fountains of water and 70 palm trees, that's 70 palm trees, and they pitched there. So that pitching is basically where they set up camp. And they removed from Elim and encamped by the Red Sea. And they removed from the Red Sea and encamped in the wilderness of Sin. And they took their journey out of the wilderness of Sin and encamped in Dopka. And they departed from Dopka and encamped in Alush. And they removed from Alush and encamped at Rephidim, where was no water for the people to drink. And they departed from Rephidim and pitched in the wilderness of Sinai. And they removed from the desert of Sinai and pitched at Kibroth Hatava. Now, keep in mind that all this was determined by when the chariot of the Lord, or the cloud as it was referred to, would ascend. So that would let them know, okay, it's time to move, and then it would move, and they would follow it, and then it would stop, and then they would know, okay, this is where we're gonna encamp for however long it is. And they departed from Kibroth Hatava and encamped at Hazeroth. And they departed from Hazeroth and pitched in Rithma. And they departed from Rithma and pitched in Ramon Perez, or pitched at Ramon Perez. And they departed from Ramon Perez and pitched in Libnah. And they removed from Libnah and pitched at Risa. And they journeyed from Risa and pitched at Kehelatha. And they went from Kehelatha and pitched in Mount Shafir. And they removed from Mount Shafir and encamped in Harada. And they removed from Harada and pitched in Makiloth. And they removed from Makiloth and encamped at Tahath. And they departed from Tahath and pitched at Tara. And they removed from Tara and pitched at Mithka. And they went from Mithka and pitched in Hashmonah. And they departed from Hashmonah and encamped at Maseroth. And they departed from Maseroth and pitched in Bene-Jaakan. And they removed from Bene-Jaakan and encamped at Horhar Gidgad. And they went from Horhar Gidgad and pitched in Jotbatha. And they removed from Jotbatha and encamped at Ebronah. And they departed from Ebronah and encamped at Ezion-Gaber. And they removed from Ezion-Gaber and pitched in the wilderness of Zin, which is Kadesh. And they removed from Kadesh and pitched in Mount Hor, in the edge of the land of Edom. And Aaron the priest went up into Mount Hor at the commandment of the Lord and died there. In the 40th year after the children of Israel were come out of the land of Egypt, in the first day of the 5th month. Now, keep in mind, it definitely does not take 40 years to travel from Egypt to that area, right, in the plains of Moab, or even the coast of Edom. But the Lord deliberately dragged it out, as he mentioned he would, to slay or to kill off that wicked generation. And Aaron was 123 years old when he died in Mount Hor. The king of Arad, the Canaanite, which dwelt in the south in the land of Canaan, heard of the coming of the children of Israel. And they departed from Mount Hor and pitched at Zalmonah, or Zalmunna. And they departed from Zalmunna and pitched in Punon. And they departed from Punon and pitched in Oboth. And they departed from Oboth and pitched in Ijia Barim, in the border of Moab. And they departed from Lim, which would be, I suppose, another name for this Ijia Barim, and pitched in Dibon Gad. And they removed from Dibon Gad and encamped in Almon Diblathaim. And they removed from Almon Diblathaim and pitched in the mountains of Abarim before Nebo. And they departed from the mountains of Abarim and pitched in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho. And they pitched by Jordan from Beth Jesimoth even onto Abel Shittim in the plains of Moab. And that's where they were encamping. And the Lord spake unto Moses in the plains of Moab by Jordan near Jericho, saying, and at this point they hadn't crossed that Jordan yet, speak unto the children of Israel, and say unto them, when ye are passed over Jordan into the land of Canaan, then ye shall drive out all the inhabitants of the land from before you, and destroy all their pictures, which are their images, their carved images, their idols, and destroy all their molten images, idols, and quite pluck down all their high places, right? Their groves, their altars, their shrines, all of that. And ye shall dispossess the inhabitants of the land. So you're gonna, when you possess something like land, you own it, right? When you dispossess it, you take it away from them. So we would take them off the land by slaying them, and dwell therein, And so we'll take it for ourselves. For I have given you the land to possess it. And ye shall divide the land by lot for an inheritance among your families. So the land basically of what portion would go to what tribe, i.e. how the land would be divided, would be by lot. And that lot would determine, would basically allow us to determine this division by the Lord. Okay. And to the more ye shall give the more inheritance. So to the bigger tribes, the land or portion they would get would be bigger. And to the fewer ye shall give the less inheritance. So if we look at this map, you'll notice you have, for example, Dan here, right, which wasn't as big as Manasseh, for example, right, or Zebulon, which wasn't as big as Judah, for example. Hence, you know, as it says here, they were given in proportion, pro rata, to the size of their tribes. Every man's inheritance shall be in the place where his lot falleth. So, all right, when I think in the book of Joshua, when we went through, the Lord outlined the borders of the land, right? This part onto this part, this part onto that part, this part onto this part, this part onto this part. So your inheritance or the portion given to you would be where the lot would fall. Okay, this top left portion should go to which tribe? Okay, it fell on the tribe of I don't know, Naphtali. Okay, so that's your lot, that's your land. According to the tribes of your fathers ye shall inherit. But if you will not drive out the inhabitants of the land from before you, so if you refuse or you don't end up kicking them out of the land, then it shall come to pass that those which ye let remain of them, so the remnant that you allow to stay, shall be pricks in your eyes and thorns in your sides, and shall vex you in the land wherein ye dwell. This is not like the Canaanites are gonna transform into pricks and start poking your eyes, but it's to it's a metaphor for they're gonna be like, if somebody says like a pain in your ass, right, or a thorn in your side, they're gonna be a burden onto you, right, bothersome onto you. Moreover, it shall come to pass that I shall do unto you as I thought to do unto them. So what did the Lord think to do unto them? Well, he thought to empty them out of the land. So the Lord is saying here, if you don't kick them out of the land, what's going to end up happening is I'm eventually going to drive you out of the land, just as I initially intended to drive them out of the land. And why? Because eventually, a part of them being pricks and thorns and vexing is that, similar to what happened with the Midianite women, it would happen in the land of Canaan, as it did, right? You would fall prey to their customs, to their idols, and you would start to go astray, being led of them, and then eventually you're going to get judged and kicked out of the land. And that brings us to the end of the book of Numbers, the 33rd chapter. Lord willing, that was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahweh, Bahasham Yahushai, Bahasham Racha Kodash. And until next time, Shalom.